Chapter 1. Recognizing the problem, the cycle of sin and unhappiness. The nature of sin, how it affects the mind, body, and soul. Sin is more than just a moral failing. It is a destructive force that impacts every aspect of our lives. When we engage in sinful behaviors, we create a ripple effect that influences our thoughts, actions, relationships, and overall well-being. Sin clouds our judgment, distances us from God, and leaves us in a constant state of dissatisfaction. The Bible warns us that sin leads to spiritual death, Romans 6:23. This is not just a metaphor. Sin robs us of peace, joy, and a sense of purpose. When we allow sin to dictate our lives, we become enslaved to unhealthy habits, toxic relationships, and self-destructive patterns. Identifying the 7 deadly sins in your life. The 7 deadly sins, pride, greed, lust, envy, wrath, sloth, and gluttony, serve as the root causes of much of the unhappiness and turmoil we experience. Recognizing these sins in our daily lives is the first step toward breaking free from their grip. Pride leads to arrogance and an inability to acknowledge our need for God. Greed causes us to chase material wealth at the expense of true fulfillment. Lust distorts our relationships, reducing love to mere physical gratification. Envy fosters resentment and prevents us from appreciating our blessings. Wrath results in anger and destruction rather than peace and resolution. Sloth keeps us from fulfilling our God-given purpose through laziness and inaction. Gluttony leads to overindulgence, whether in food, possessions, or worldly pleasures. By taking an honest inventory of our actions and thoughts, we can pinpoint where these sins are manifesting in our lives and begin the process of transformation. The impact of sin on happiness, relationships, and spiritual well-being. Many people believe that indulging in sinful pleasures will bring happiness, but the opposite is true. Sin offers temporary gratification, but long-term emptiness. A life consumed by sin leads to broken relationships, financial struggles, health problems, and most importantly, a fractured relationship with God. Sin creates conflict in our relationships as selfish desires override love and selflessness. It breeds guilt and shame, leaving us feeling unworthy and unfulfilled. It diminishes our spiritual connection, making it harder to hear God's voice and follow His will. It leads to anxiety and stress as we attempt to fill a void that only God can satisfy. Why true fulfillment requires a higher purpose. Living for worldly pleasures or personal gain will always leave us wanting more. The reason is simple. We were created for a higher purpose. True fulfillment comes not from indulging in sin, but from aligning our lives with God's plan. The Bible teaches that we are created in God's image, Genesis 1:27, meaning we have a divine purpose beyond our own desires. Jesus tells us that true peace comes from following Him, John 14:27, not from pursuing wealth, pleasure, or power. When we shift our focus from self-centered desires to God's purpose, we begin to experience a life of meaning, peace, and joy. Recognizing the destructive nature of sin is the first step toward transformation. In the next chapter, we will explore God's blueprint for righteous living, the 10 Commandments, and how they serve as a guide to lasting happiness and purpose.